Right, good evening. Whoop, there's sound somewhere. I just heard it. Probably going to be a bit of an echo there for a second. All right, got it turned off. All right, let's see how the sound is now. Like I said, there will be a slight echo for the first little bit of that because I had the sound on Twitch, but you should be good now. Excuse me. All right, perfect. Thank you, sir. All right. So, crazy, well, partially crazy day and partially not crazy day. So, obviously, the yen was just nuts. I was looking at this earlier today, and this was up like 150, 147, 148, something like that, for the dollar yen. So obviously, kind of just crazy. Just literally went straight up. If you look at that chart, it's just absolutely unreal. No pullbacks whatsoever. It was a rocket ship today, right? Looking at some of the other things out there, not as much movement. So in 24 hours, again, we can see that the euro dollar basically came in flat. It's actually at zero. It's moved no pips. In the last 24 or in the last 60 minutes, you can see though it is down 0.1. Last 5 minutes, it's down 0.01. So obviously, a bit of a kind of a retracement back on that guy, right? You can see that the pound dollar down 84. Okay, again, that's bringing dollar strength into the market. You see dollar, obviously dollar yen 127 still right now. It's obviously been toned back a little bit, but again, still quite high. Dollar Swiss 2, nothing too exciting there. Dollar CAD 28, Aussie dollar 44. Euro pound, again, this would be a pound weakness play, 54. And again, there's some news, and I'll show you why that is in a second. A couple different comments and things, which it, I would say it's more of an emotional response. It doesn't change anything to what was going to happen earlier today. But again, when the statement is public, you're still going to necessarily hear it. All right, and then again we have some, the pound yen is obviously up there as well. So it's interesting seeing euro pound up, but then also seeing pound yen, but that's more of obviously a yen play because we're seeing pound weakness versus the dollar as well. So kind of interesting. All right, so looking at the actual news releases today, CPI actually came in higher than expected. Right, it was expected to be 1.6, it came in at 1.8, which actually is not horrible. You guys can see it says good for the currency. Again, as that thing starts approaching up, seeing that type of level of inflation, that's more of a conversation about changing rates, making them higher, which should obviously bring in some pound strength. But unfortunately, one of the bit of news that I was talking about, where is it? This right here. The Bank of England speech that moved the markets was reportedly leaked. Okay, as well as this one. Okay, those two are typically that's the reason why we're seeing a bit of this movement here. So, but again, CPI is good. That means again we got to start thinking about interest rates going into the future. Going into 8:30, that's where we saw some of the actual CAD and U.S. numbers come in. Okay, now CPI was good. It was better than expected, which again that's kind of washed out because if you look down here with the U.S. data, also very, very good. The trend and things like that are not as big of movers as the main one, and the main one was good. So kind of a wash on that one. There's not a whole lot you can do on that one. But again, U.S. numbers, again, core PPI and regular PPI, again, both much better than expected. Okay, much better than expected. And again, you know, everybody out there is, talking about how, bad of a situation we're in. We're ready for a market crash. And guess what? There we go. um, oh, what you had? Oh, your longs came in today? Yeah. Well, good day to do it, but again, it coincided with great news, which was definitely unexpected. And then obviously FOMC notes coming in, and then again the Aussie news, right? Oops, I didn't refresh this. Let's see, bam, there you guys can see it. Check that out. Again, another jump in the unemployment rate. Okay, we went from 5.1 to 5.2, and that's what the expectation was, and came in at 5.3. Again, so that's why you guys, and I saw a couple of you guys profiting from it, seeing that kind of bounce back and forth. I guess Ernest jumped in. What's it called? Carl was out within 2 minutes, right? It was a quick little 2-minute trade in and out. But again, you see this one, you'll see the Aussie dollar basically just collapse. There was a bit of a spike, and it was perfect. I mean, it literally spiked right into a zone that we talk about, and then the thing just tanked. I mean, it was huge. It was about 50 pips, right? 50 pips in about an hour, hour and a half. So again, large bit of movement off of that one. And again, not surprising. Not like the Aussie is not having enough issues as it is already.
but increasing the unemployment rate is not going to help it whatsoever. All right. Um, yeah, if you bought calls on a dip yesterday, that's great. Yeah. I'm sure the calls were up 200 today. Yeah, I mean, again, kind of a pretty nice day, right? You had green across the board, but again, a lot of that is helped with FOMC and some of the actual data coming in. So you got to be thankful with that. So going into tomorrow, all right, let's look into tomorrow, right? First things first, 4:30 tomorrow morning, we have retail sales numbers. Now, again, retail sales should be an interesting number because we actually may get a bit of retracement on this one, right? We've had the big push now. We have about 85 pips down versus the U.S. dollar here, and a little, about 53 that it's down. Obviously, the pair is not down, but the pound is down versus the euro here, about 53. If this retail sales number comes in, look for a retrace of both of these two numbers. And again, the numbers today were good. This one you can see before. The previous was minus zero point 0.6, but the forecast is coming in at 0.7. We get something higher than that, this one will move. But the market is actually pricing in, a not too bad number. So that'll be interesting. And then 7:30 tomorrow morning, before really the U.S. comes online, we have the ECB monetary policy accounts, which, again, anytime you see ECB data, this could be definitely important. Now, obviously, the euro wasn't a huge mover today. This was all pound-based. So, again, that could give us a little bit of pretty beneficial information. The Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, again, that's priced in. But crude oil, again, 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. So, right now, they're giving us a forecast of 3.3. And interesting enough, 3.1 is what the forecast was last time, and we came in very, very high. You can see the last three in a row have definitely been on the high side. They've raised it a little bit more. Each time, we'll see with this one again. It'd be interesting to see what this level is right now based off of travel restrictions and people not going places and worried about being sick. And again, some of that number is obviously already inside of the forecast, and that's what's kind of helping that adjust forward. But until the actual number is printed, we don't really know. Okay. Again, another high number here. We'll see. That again, that could be bad for oil, though. Oil was kind of crazy today. Oil is one of those ones that I was watching it and just kept going higher and higher and higher. I think we're back up to like 53 and a half, something like that. When I looked at it last, I think that's about what it is right now. Almost 54, 53 to 95 is what it was. So yeah, we actually cracked 54, which I'm not liking. I want it to go in the other direction because I want cheap gas. I'm not liking this $54. I want it 50 and below. That's what I'm cheering for this year. I feel like this is like the groundhog all over again. But again, looking on the 30-minute today, guys, it did have a pretty nice run up, very technical. A lot of impulse correction. So it did what it was supposed to do as far as movement goes. So you can't really fault it for that. Like I said, I would love it to go south, but oh well, what are you going to do? Super manipulated market. But we'll see what that inventory number is tomorrow. It's very hard to justify oil prices going up. Because I'll tell you right now, there is no such thing as cutting oil inventory or cutting oil production. Okay, no company in their right mind is going to do that because then other companies will just pick up the difference. So you can be the one guy that says, yeah, let's all cut back 5%. I'll tell you right now, there are so many people that will not cut back because they'll just pick up the difference. And again, try to manipulate the profits back into that one. Don't trust those guys at all. All right. So crude oil again sets us up a little bit interesting tomorrow. We'll talk about that where we are for zones. And that's about it. Looking in the news today, again, obviously we see prime rates. The unemployment rate, obviously, in the Aussie, again, we see that one. And then again, we go into the Fed minutes. If you didn't read it, there's obviously a link here you can go down to. Let's see what else we got in here. Really, that's it. Again, here's that information on the BOE if you guys were interested in getting into it. And this is interesting. Fed captain, I don't want the U.S. to resort to negative rates. Again, we're at least one of the only countries that actually started raising rates again. So again, we're not quite there yet. And again, I don't know. I still feel like this is farther down the road. I mean, the economy is still doing well. We keep missing forecasts, good to the top side. So I don't know. I mean, there's so much negativity about this. I mean, supposedly, right? We were supposed to crash 2 years ago, and we've watched the market go to all-time highs and continue to drive higher. And again, with China in kind of a weakened condition right now, and really trade war fears not really being there and stuff. Again, we didn't see a lot. We're not seeing a lot of the stuff that the naysayer said. So, once that stuff evaporates, it's hard to say why. We saw this being hurt, and it's funny. I have a friend of mine who's put it this way: she's very one-sided in her kind of I guess her opinions about politics. And talking about how nothing good has come out of that, nothing, and it's like, well, we were supposed to be a lot of bad, and none of those things are actually here, and it's just kind of hard to it's hard to say that nothing good has happened when we were supposed to be in a recession 2 years ago, and we're not there. And things are pushing higher, and every time everybody says gloom and doom, the market just goes to a new high. So yeah, it's kind of that's kind of my take on it. You can have opinions and say it should do this or it is going to do that, but the market's its own being. It's going to do what it wants to do, and it's reacted. It kindly it's gone higher, and actually this person's quote was, yeah, maybe your 401ks are a lot higher, but that really doesn't matter because the little guys are hurting. It's like, yeah, I guess you could say that, but at the end of the day, when 401ks weren't as high, the whole world was ending, right, in the U.S. because everybody's 401ks were half, and they had to, they're gonna have to work for another 20 years or not even know how they're gonna retire. It's like, I don't know. I feel like if your 401k back is high, a lot of people that weren't able to retire before are going to retire now because it's so much higher than it was. Um, everything that they said that I don't know how I'm gonna ever do this. I'm gonna work. They can get out now. So, not politics, but one of these things. Again, be cautious. You see statements like this about I don't want to resort to all these negative things, and I don't want to go that direction. Again, the market right now, I don't really see. Maybe they see something I don't, but again, this just seems like them trying to be playing fair balance on what all the data seems to be, right? I mean, again, we got all this good data, red across or green across the board, so it's kind of it's one of those things. It's very hard to kind of just do that. Um, he makes stocks go up, yeah. Yeah, he does mostly because of interest rates. And again, I don't know. It's so I just find that it's an interesting debate, and for another time. But people have issues with it. People are like, oh, listen, it's like Wall Street makes money. It's like, yeah, Wall Street does, but all I used to hear during the financial crisis was during like the last bubble was oh my god, all my 401ks are half, I'm never going to be able to retire, and that wasn't like, I don't know, I mean, that's what everybody was saying. My 401k became like a 201k. So it's like, I don't know, I just feel that more people have retirements and companies have retirements, and social programs have more money in that case. So I don't know, I feel like we're in a fine place right now. Okay, I've been saying that. So all right, with that being said, going into tomorrow, again, oil, European number will be good, and then retail sales. And again, retail sales for the pound is a parabolic retracement target, um, or our potential. That is one of the ones that is actually not too bad. So I definitely keep that on your radar. What does it say? You can hear the market. I started learning that last year. Yeah. The 401k loan fund. There's plenty of things to do with it. I mean, and in most cases, again, once you retire, your 401k vastly changes into different things. And again, different environment. I mean, a lot of people are like, "Oh no, got to be a super, super conservative." But in this day and age, look how I mean, look where the market is. Look how much the market has gone up, right? If you were being conservative, you just missed out on so much money. And the people that took advantage of it, they're in a much better place now. They can retire, and then they'll shift into more type of fixed income where you're not going to see the variations, right? You're not going to see a lot of risk, and if it goes up or down, great. But I mean, it's not like bonds are in a great place or anything either. So many ways to play it. All right. All right, so let's go into charts. First thing will be the Aussie, which obviously has had a bit of movement. Actually, you know what? Let me go down to scanner. Whoops, I forgot to go back to the scanner real quick. All right. Whoops. All right, there we go. We got it. All right, so let me bring this across to the other screen. Scanner is very, very interesting. Okay, and here's why. Obviously, we had a bunch of movement today. I'm actually surprised we don't have more anchor breaks. Okay, particularly in the U.S. based pairs. Because again, or even just I guess anything that was yen based. Okay, if you look all the way across, the only thing that we really have any anchor breaks on are obviously Aussie based pairs, which makes sense. I mean, again, the Aussie news is pretty crazy, and again, that's why you're seeing it here. But then we have a Euro CAD position. Besides that, really nothing else. Obviously, Euro CAD is in two different baskets, the Euro and the CAD. So I thought that was interesting. Looking at the majors, again, uptrend setup, consolidation, which down to 85 pips in one day, that's consolidation. I mean, that's basically its ATR, so that's not actually a bad day, right? But it's saying we're consolidated on the daily, the 4 hour, and the 1 hour. Aussie dollar, obviously still continuing to drop. I mean, no surprise there. We see what's happening there, right? Um, again, unemployment going up, bad for the economy, continuing weakness. That's a coronavirus. Oh, one thing to note too. I mean, if you guys look at the top, I don't really see much about the coronavirus over here, right? Don't see too much, right? So again, interesting how that's starting to kind of level off, right? Um, I think farther down there is something. Maybe there wasn't. Oh, here.
U.S. inventories cushion to virus impact, and that was 13 hours ago. That's about the only thing, right? And again, that's coming from Wells Fargo, just FYI. The people that say, "Give us your money, trust us." Yeah. Besides that, look, there's nothing in here, right? Not a lot of stuff about virus today. All right. So again, majors are a little bit split. Kind of interesting here. Two uptrend setups. Over on the European basket, you can see Euro pound uptrend setup. Again, not too bad, right? Euro Aussie downtrend setup, and then we have an anchor break. Okay, and then we have consolidation in the Euro yen. Right. Again, Euro yen is not necessarily my favorite pair at this moment in time, but consolidation, consolidation, consolidation. Euro dollar consolidation. And again, this makes sense, right? It's moved a total of 2 pips in the last 24 hours. So again, consolidation, downtrend confirmed, downtrend confirmed. Looking at the CAD basket, right? Uptrend setup, downtrend setup, downtrend setup, up. This is an anchor break to the downside. So CAD basket is like a little crazy, right? But at least we have actually icons on all of the things. So a lot of stuff going on with the CAD right now. And again, the CAD news today kind of washed itself out with a dollar, but there's a bunch going on with CAD, so we'll check all these different things out today. Looking at the Aussie basket, really surprised these two were still sitting in uptrend setup, as bad as this was. Again, you saw there was a huge spike up on the 4-hour, and then literally it crashed right back down again. And just FYI, it bounced off of our alert. Okay, it rallied all the way up again, hit the alert level, and then just collapsed on this one. So actually, there was some good one. The Singapore was a good trade. That one was up in a zone, and actually, again, we saw that one kind of rally up, hit a level of supply, and crash back down. We saw it in the Aussie dollar. Aussie New Zealand had it. It wasn't as easy to grab, but again, I think the Aussie dollar was the best one over there. And then obviously in the pound basket, pound had some weakness today, so again, a little bit kind of all over the place. Actually 2 consolidations, one confirmed in a weird pair, and then obviously uptrend setup, and then uptrend setup, and then consolidation and kind of a downtrend setup for the pound yen, which was only right now it's up 69, which again, not its ATR. Its ATR was 99 yesterday, so it's going to bring that probably down to about 98, 97. So that one is continuing to drop. All right. All right, so let's go over and jump right in the charts. Now, I'm ready this time, I promise. All right, let's start with Aussie dollar. All right, so Aussie dollar, you guys can see this one came right back up. We'll load it on the daily again. The daily is still driving lower, right? Still driving lower. Okay, on the 4-hour, whoops. On the 4-hour, you guys can see, again, here's that pop up. And actually, this one grabbed it, right? You guys can see right here. There's the news. And it grabbed it, but it's easier to see on the lower time frame. But you can see it did rally back up in news, grabbed it, and collapsed. Looking at the 1-hour, you can kind of see the same type of reaction. Now, you guys see the level of basing here? It literally popped right up, grabbed this level of basing. Again, this is the aggressive one. It's news. That's what happens. It popped up, grabbed it, and boom, collapsed right back down for about 50 pips to the downside. So nice little grab on this one. The zone was obviously very small in this one, but it doesn't need to be large. Right there was your zone right there, and again, a rally up, boom, boom, and it's actually continuing to go lower. And this is a trend I expect to see, through the night. I expect this to continue to get lower, particularly versus the Aussie dollar. All right, so not too much we can do with it now. It is still going to the downside. It needs to form some levels of basing before we'll have an entry, or I guess a re-entry into this one. But a nice little grab, and again, you could have taken this on the hour. You could have taken it over here on the 4-hour. Again, it popped up. The 4-hour, you could have moved your zone actually a little bit higher and moved it into this area. But end of the day, you're still, at the same area with the amount of profit that you were. A little bit harder. And typically, again, if it goes up, we want to make sure we have a refined zone on a lower time frame. 30-minute as well, you guys can see here. 30-minute, again, you would have used this level of basing here and lowered your risk on it. You would have used that level right there. And again, you guys can see there's black on the top, definitely within that zone. And 30, I think, is probably the cleanest. 30, 60, they're both pretty clean, but this one obviously you can see that there's black above, so no concerns that you would not have gotten your would have gotten stopped out of this one, and just boom, just collapsed. From the entry there to where we are right now, it is up 48 pips. All right, so great one on Aussie News. That's why I mentioned that one last night. That you gotta love those trades. Now Aussie New Zealand, kind of similar situation. All right, you guys can see on the daily, this one is not as low, right? Because again, New Zealand is also having issues, right? I mean, anything in that, that kind of Pan-Asian sector over there, that the Aussie sector, again, they're all affected. And New Zealand news is not at all-time lows, but it is definitely kind of, over here on the downside,
Looking at the 4-hour, you can see that, this is what we had. We talked yesterday about this rock and a hard place between the two. We basically were stuck in the middle. So that's why I said this one was a little bit more difficult. You obviously had a spike up and a spike all the way back down again and then kind of a pullback. But this one was a little harder because, again, we were sitting between these two zones, and it's always a little bit harder for trade when you do that. Looking at the daily, okay, this is right here. You can see the spike up. Did not quite get to the zone. Of these two, if you're looking for one for news, typically the Aussie dollar is a better news play than the Aussie New Zealand. So just saying again, because anything that happens to New Zealand is also, I'm sorry, the Aussie, which is also most likely going to happen in New Zealand. So this one kind of doesn't have the same reactions, not quite in the same zones. That's why I like the other one better. So not much we can do in this one. Again, we can still look to get in this one, from these two areas. We're approaching the bottom side. On the hourly, you can see we're getting kind of into those zones. I may actually even wait to see if we can get a little bit lower down into one of these two demand zones before I start looking for a buy. If we do get a pop up, again, there's one zone here that's not horrible. I think this top one up, this teal zone up top is probably a little bit better of a bet. Speaking of teal zones, here's the Aussie yen. You guys can see it actually goes above. I don't know if you guys can see it. I can't make it any bigger on this one. Anyway, here's the daily, right? We came right back up. There was the trigger that we marked off last night. And if I zoom in, there you go, guys. There was your peak, right? Went right up above before news time. It started to pull back, and then boom, collapsed out the bottom, right? There's what the trade looked like, okay? And again, I'll zoom out so you don't have the red, but you guys can see we had the red, the green, and the red confirmation. There was your new spike back up again, showing that, hey, listen, this is definitely a short period. And from that pop, again, this one is down about 55 pips. So not a bad little area. And again, you can see here we formed this level of basing. We dropped below it. We went sideways. We popped up right before news. Again, 30-minute trigger, and boom, collapse. Okay, so many ways you could take it on this one as well. Same thing, based off the risk level. And again, this is actually an indicator drawn one, right? From there's your 1 to 3. There's your 1 to 5 on this one. And again, targets are not in bad locations. Load that one back with data. There we go. Okay. So many ways to take this one. Again, there was your initial spike. And again, I mentioned yesterday, if it rallies up before news, those are the times to take this one short. And again, this is another one of those examples where right now there's nothing to jump into it. Again, 4-hour, we're sitting in an area of demand. It's retraced back again. So be cautious. Again, demand zone here. Again, it had filled that gap, and that's where we were looking to get in before. Bam, gap play right there, just days later, right? So again, Aussie yen, nice trade setup. Aussie CAD, still pushing lower, right? Still pushing lower. On the 1 hour, you can see what it did here. Again, had its pop, didn't really go to the cleanest area. So again, is this one tradable? Sure, I guess you could have traded it, but there was much better options to be able to trade this one for Aussie dollar and Aussie yen. So again, you wouldn't have traded this one. And with this one pushing, ever lower, again, we're looking for areas of where it's going to stop and start looking for this one to retrace. So not much going with Aussie CAD. And again, the CAD is having problems. Aussie Swiss, you guys can see here. There's the daily. Sorry, there's the daily, right? We're kind of peeling away from the gap fill, right? Here's your 4-hour. We're driving down. We're close. We're close to that demand zone. Didn't quite make it. On the hourly, you can see kind of the same thing, right? Here's that pop, and it grabbed the single wick. It was there, but I wouldn't say that this one was an easy grab either. Again, whenever you see the price rallying before like something big like this news-wise comes out, you're always looking for a short. But would you have taken this one over the Aussie dollar or the Aussie yen? No. I mean, you can see there's a zone there, but not clean. And this one has dropped, about 48, the same thing. Again, spread is also higher. The spread on this one is, it's listed 1 now, but obviously during news it has less, less liquidity. So it definitely goes up. So there, but nothing worthwhile, right? And no actual trade setups. Now we can look for something in this area, but I'm not necessarily looking for a touch and go on this one. I want to see. I think tomorrow we will continue with the Aussie weakness. I just want to see how long it's going to take to break through this level. Not interested in taking longs off this level, but the bottom one I do think is a much better zone. And you can see on the lower time frame, there's actually 2 different buying zones down there. Down in the, what are we talking? 64.60. The first one, and then 64.40 as far as the second one goes. So, 2 ones that aren't necessarily bad. All right. And last but not least, Aussie Singapore. You guys can see on the 4-hour. Look at this guy. Again, we had that nice piece that we talked about popping off the top. This one did come up. You guys can see it here on the 4-hour. I'll mark it off, but I'm pretty sure it's on the lower time frame as well. There's your rally up. There's your pop. There's your 1 hour. You can see it here on the 1 hour as well. Again, you could shorten it to there. Again, you still touched it. Again, this is the 1 hour, pops all the way back up and grabs that one. And boom, there's their end result. This one is about 50 pips. So 3 different ways to take it. Aussie Singapore, Aussie Yen, and Aussie Dollar all did the same exact thing. And again, running into a 4-hour zone. Again, I would have marked the 4-hour zone. How many pips is that? Let's see. That's 4 pips. That zone right there, 9 pips. So yeah, that was your money right there. Boom. Oops, it's not that big. There we go. And there's your 1 to 3 and your 1 to 5, which is absolutely in a perfect place because look what we have right here. The 4-hour demand zone, right? So boom, 1 4-hour candle all the way down here, and down. Actually, I think it's, yeah, you guys can see it. It did it in 2 hours. There was the spike up. First spike here, boom, the first 30 minutes, you ended up hitting the first target, came back up, and then touched, and you guys can see it went below the actual target here. There's your 5 to 1 reward to risk off of news. Okay, and again, a little farther here, but you guys can see right there. So perfect spot. All right, so again, like I said, Aussie, any of the Singapore pairs, they're pretty nice during the week, and the spread is rather low. It's only 2 pips. So having to pay 2 for that one, and grabbing a 50 pip, run out of that one, pretty nice. All right, pretty nice. All right, so those are the Aussies. Let's go down into CAD. Now CAD, we'll start with CAD Yen. CAD Yen went crazy today, right? It went crazy. This is the 4-hour. This thing is it just went nuts, right? Let me load the different time frames of data worth in. Okay, there's your 4-hour, and again, you can see there's the hourly. So here's where we are right now. All right, you guys can see at the bottom, it's at the 21 candle. And here's the 21 candle from last night. Okay, so not only did this come back up again, it hit and kind of bounced away and kind of based right below it, which is never a good sign, but then it went nuts. This thing went crazy, went up 123 pips, grabbed the zone on the upper level, and now has kind of basing and starting to kind of roll over on it. So just crazy movement. Again, this one was good for what? 1, 2, it hit, and then number 4. 3, 4 is where it kind of broke through. But wow. I saw this today, I was like, man, that thing is just nuts. Now, being where it is, again, we've now gone from being kind of on the upper fringes of the low section or the bottom part of the medium area to now we're definitely high on the curve. Okay, we've definitely bumped to the high on the curve section again. We were down here, on the daily, it was kind of like, yeah, we're in the bottom, and looking at the 4-hour, you can say, yeah, in more near-term time, we're kind of on the middle, right? We're definitely in the upper. Okay, the thing is definitely on the upper. We have to be starting to look and thinking about shorts. Again, I wouldn't say anything super strong about the CAD, but we're definitely in territory where we should be looking for shorts. Okay, our mindset, our bias has to be shifting, and it's about finding entries. We're super close. Again, if we get up top, coming up into this 84, was it 84.44? Definitely be interested in some type of finding an entry, right? And that's what you're looking. The 1 to 3, not horrible, not bad. It's a little bit far. I think your 1 to 5 is definitely doable, and there's no reason why this one couldn't even go further, right? I think this one could go even lower. This one could go even in. There's your 1 to 5, your 1 to 10 range is down here where this wick over wick is. So this has the potential of retracing all the way back down. Not a bad one on CAD Yen. So definitely a big fan of this one. And again, if we don't hit it tomorrow, again, it could be going into Friday or potentially even setting us up for next week for a collapse back down, right, this way into next week. All right, CAD Swiss. Okay, CAD Swiss, you can see I will load up here on the daily. This one again, another day up. We had this little area here that we talked about yesterday. On the 4-hour, you can see it, right? And I'll click the violated zone. You guys can see this green one. Obviously, we violated it back in here, and it kind of came back down. This red one right now, we're in the zone. We're basically stuck in it right now. You guys can see where we drew it. We're in it right now. It's gone a little bit above and a little bit below. Again, CAD Swiss will do that. Looking at this one on the daily. Whoops, sorry. On the hourly, you guys can see if I click the violated, it's going right through it. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. It just basically turns sideways on us. So not too much in there as far as grabbing. I think the 4-hour zones are probably the best. This is the first one. I would probably hold off until we get to this upper range as well if you're looking for CAD Swiss. So don't like the CAD Swiss as much. CAD Yen, love it. CAD Swiss, not as much of a big fan of that one right now. All right, so those are the 2 Canadian pairs. Let's drop down to the Swiss itself. Now, Swiss, look at this boom, just explosion, right? Explosion. Crazy, crazy, crazy movement, right? Looking at this on the 4-hour, you can see we had marked off this kind of break of the downside, looking for that Harry Potter trade, and we never got it, but we were going to hold it, right? We're like, okay, listen, it didn't trigger, but we're still going to hold it to see if we can get it next time. And you can see here's where we are right now, right? It says 1, and then the 1 is right here, right? We had left that area. And all it's done since that time is gone straight up. Okay, so crazy, crazy area. And again, I'll click this so you guys know where we originally did this at, right? That's where the original draw was done from. It never gave us the black space right below, or white space, whatever, I call different things. But man, did it turn and just run. Crazy, crazy, crazy movement. Look at that. Never got the entry, right? Never got the actual space that we needed. And boom. Crazy, 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 crazy movement. All right. So looking for some type of short on this one, I would say it's very similar. Unfortunately, looking back on the 4-hour, there's not a lot of great zones above where we need to be. I was hoping we'd have something, but really the best thing that we have up here is still going to be this area at 114.37. It's still got, I mean, it's still kind of far away. It's still not that close. We're talking about, what, 111 pips? It has a daily ATR 50, so this is a huge, huge day. And the angle of this ascent, you got to be thinking that we're going to have some type of a turn and some type of a flip to the downside. So, I wish there was a better entry over here, but there's not really anything that's great, right? We'll take this and put this above. Check this out on hourly. Yeah, I mean, there's a little thing here. I mean, this one's not horrible. Can we even see that one? This one up here is not bad, but we got about 56 pips before we can get up there. So that's the best thing on the Swiss, unfortunately. Like I said, there's plenty of other things out there. So European pairs. All right, remember, whoops, made that thing huge. All right, European pairs. You can see New Zealand sideways down confirmed, uptrend setup with the Euro pound, Euro Aussie down setup, anchor break on Euro CAD, and then consolidation, consolidation, consolidation on the three, two big ones and a minor. So let me pull this one back and let's pull Euro Aussie first. So on a daily, again, this one was kind of going back and forth, looking at kind of where we would be on the trend, right? We started kind of over here. We're in the middle. We're starting to get into the kind of upper reaches, which is kind of nice. Again, we're at the very, very bottom side of it. Drop it on the 4-hour, you can see we had this level of basing, right? This level of basing we were going off, but now we're rallying higher, right? It went through this. It's not through it yet. You can see the line. It's in an area of sellers right now where we've had prior selling. It is in the middle, though. That's kind of the one thing. It's like, is it worth taking that target now? Probably not. I just don't see too much with the Aussie. I don't see anything right now. Again, like I said, this one is very exposed to anything virus-based. We heard nothing really today about the virus. Okay, unless they found a cure and I missed it. There's nothing. They haven't. I don't know. They're still exposed. They still have some exposure to so I can see continued weakness. And again, right now we're kind of sitting right in the middle. It's not necessarily the cleanest area. Dropping down to an hourly, you can see it's only a very, very small area. Don't really like it. Okay, I do like this zone up here. This zone up here at 164.15. Not a bad zone. I do like that one. The reason I do is I like the distance between it. It's about 30 pips, so it's a little bit bigger. Again, adjust your position accordingly. This one has an ATR of 114, so this one is definitely a mover. But in here, I don't really see too much, and I think if it can grind its way through, it's already tested once. This is not a bad zone. I think we could definitely get the second attempt off of this zone to the downside. All right, and that's Euro Aussie. You'll find it on the 1 hour. Okay. Euro New Zealand. Again, the Euro New Zealand was sitting sideways up confirmed. And again, you guys can see it grinding. On the 1 hour, it's still in a zone. There's a little wick over wick here, but I wouldn't be touching this one right now. You guys can see it's driving back up again. The zone up here on the daily is not bad, but we got, 134 pips, so it's definitely got some room, a little bit over a day to get up there. Now, it does have a 109 pip ATR, and we do have ECB monetary policy meeting note or accounts tomorrow, so it is possible that we can get up to that zone on the daily. Looking at it on the 4 hour, it gives us a little bit better of a picture. There's like an aggressive entry and a conservative entry. So both of them, this is about 33, and the top one is about 40. So still on the bigger side. Again, this pair can move. Looking at it here, I still think on the hourly, On the hourly, I like the more conservative one, just by the way the zones are formed, but you're still taking, 22 pip risk. So it's still kind of like, it's still a bit far away, right? You still got about this on this one. It's about 163. So it's going to take a lot with that monetary policy pop tomorrow, if we get it, before we really kind of hit any type of good quality zones for this one. Like I said, this is the 4 hours probably giving you the kind of the best view of where your entries would be. And again, it'll move there. I mean, it may move there by Friday, and then that sets us up for a short next week. Okay. Looking at this one, euro dollar. Yeah, here's the 4 hour. It did nothing. So, yeah, I don't know. There's nothing really we can talk about on this one. Really nothing, right? Sideways movement. I can drop down to an hourly. You guys can see it over here. Nothing, right? We went down a little bit. We went up a little bit. We went back down again. Nothing. Okay, we were at let's see. We are currently at -2 in 24 hours. So nothing on the euro dollar. As fun as this pair can be to trade, whew, it's a snoozer right now. It's a snoozer. Okay. We'll see what that monetary policy and meeting notes are tomorrow. Singapore, look at this sucker. All the way up and all the way retracing. So again, it got almost to that zone. Check this out. I mean, talk about in one day. Look at that. It did. You missed. If you would have had an order here, you would have missed it. There's just a little bit of black area under it. You didn't get all the way up there, and even here, you can see that the zone is painted higher, not this zone. It popped and has now started to retrace. Look at this, though. Look at this. Talk about crazy, right? That thing went up and grabbed the only zone that this thing painted, and then pulled back. What did it pull back? 50 pips. How crazy is that, right? This is a 8 pip zone. 8 pips. And this thing rallied and launched itself 122 pips in 1 hour, hit an 8 pip zone, and literally turned around on a dime, and is now, pushing back to the downside 50 pips. Crazy, 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 crazy. All right. I did not expect this much movement, this much fast, this fast in this pair. But hey, it's moving. It's going, right? And again, here's where we are now. And then here's where we were last night, right? And we were talked about being in this zone last night, right? This is where we were last night, guys. Here was that entry that we talked about. You finally did get the entry. It never, it never went lower. There's your 1 to 3. There's your 1 to 5, right? There is your full profit target. Right here, 85 pips. Okay, so if you guys were here last night in chart school, again, here's where we were time-wise. We had just left this area. You did get another attempt on this one a couple hours later, 2 o'clock this morning. You got your basically the second low. But basically at 11 o'clock is when we came back down to this area. So everybody had an opportunity to get this one, and if you held it, I mean, literally, that's 184 pips. That's huge, huge, huge move, right? But I think the 5 to 1 would have been a safe target. But really, you guys can see this one, it didn't hit the 5 to 1 here. It went from here, it came back down, and then in one candle, right past your 1 to 5. So this is one of those ones. If you had your 1 to 5, you're mad because you're like, oh, wait, I got so close, it pulled back, and then it launched through 80 pips. So it's just one of those things. It's like, it just messes with you. But man, great trade. Love the fact that it stopped on a dime up here at this demand zone or the supply zone. Crazy, 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 crazy. And you guys can see it now. We're back down 63 pips off that little 8 pip zone. Okay. All right, looking at this one. So, looking at this one on the daily, okay, you guys can see, again, big spike up again. This one didn't really have the best target to be able to grab sideways. Again, this is that yen kind of movement today, but really not a whole lot we can grab off of it. We had been talking about this bottom level, and it did. It actually went a little bit lower before, and went right back up again and kind of came and put a failure to go lower situation in. Looking at it over on the hourly, you can't actually see it here. Unfortunately, this didn't paint right. Not that it didn't paint right, but it didn't paint in a clean fashion. You can see it here that it's marking off that entire zone. But again, on the hourly, you can't really see it. On the 30 minutes, kind of the same situation. I mean, this is what we're looking for. This candle just didn't paint right. Or not right, but not the indicator's fault. It didn't paint in a nice way. Right? Didn't paint in a nice way. Had this painted a little bit differently, it would have drawn the zone down here, and there would have been your entry. Right? A failure to go lower, to the top side. Started to form a rally, especially after it broke through. Right? Now this one did come down, did give us a bit of a kind of a Harry Potter-ish entry. But again, on the hourly, what did it do? It spiked down and right back up again, which typically violates it if it does that without doing that slow kind of turn and handle. You guys can see, went down, came back up. created a level of demand, it came back down, grabbed those orders, and then went off to the races. Okay, so this is one of those ones, this one occurred basically at midnight last night. You would have had to watch this one and keep track of this one. And again, this low here that it put in is what we needed to kind of snag off it. So this was a little bit harder. I'd say this is probably not the beginner entry. This is probably something a little bit more advanced for you guys that have been trading for a while. Euro Swiss. What is Euro Swiss doing? It's just collapsing. And again, sideways movement, no real movement today. We're getting super close to that demand zone. I mentioned before we are still 30 pips away, and this one has a daily ATR of 33. So I said it yesterday, it would take one more day to get there. Well, it's going to take at least one more day to get down there. Super close, but no trade in Euro Swiss. Euro Pound. Okay, Euro Pound is an uptrend setup. Okay. And this is what we have. Okay, so it's here. Nice rally up. Was looking for it to go a little farther. I think if we were able to get up into this range right here, I think that would have been a nice little sell going into tomorrow. Didn't quite make it there, right? Looking at it on the hourly, now you can see, what did the indicator do? The indicator has this zone. Oops, not that one. Indicator has this zone marked off. Okay, it just didn't get as high. Okay, I marked it off on the 4-hour just because you can see how the candles are formed. But you can see in this case, the algorithm caught it because it ended up moving far enough. So I still think that this is a valid trade setup if we can get up that high. The 1 to 3 is right where this current level of basing is. So I think that's probably, not a bad place. And your 1 to 5 is all right as well. So entry on this one is around 83.90-ish. And then the other side of it, your distal line will be 84.00. So it's about a 10 pip risk on that one. This one's not bad. I like this one, and I was hoping we get a little bit higher. I actually had limit orders set in this one, and didn't get filled yet. So I was hoping we could go more, but that's still in from yesterday. We'll see if that one can fill tomorrow. And then EuroCAD, you guys can see EuroCAD is just straight down. I mean, we finally have a little bit of a green candle, but there's not even any pullbacks in this one. It's just collapsing. Nothing great on this guy. Even looking at it on an hourly, we're just not pulling back, just no entry. So unfortunately, the CAD pair is not really giving us a lot to deal with right now. Going down to euro, or I'm sorry, to pound. All right, which one is this? Let's go back to pound yen. All right, so this one actually we had an entry and it failed. Okay, we talked about this one going through. We were waiting for it to go in. We took an aggressive entry. As you can see here, again, I'm going to leave these things on here so you can kind of see it. But you can see the green candle went into the demand zone. So it popped into demand, is actually pulling back from that demand zone now in the 4-hour. We had a level set up based off this level of basing. Okay, now again, this is hand drawn. This is a bit more aggressive. We were playing the front run situation. At front run here went slightly higher, and it did actually hit it and then go lower. Okay, it hit. It went all the way down to here. Again, we had this one set up on the hourly, right? Now, this one had gone, the risk on this one was 143.45 to 143.62. Okay, so you are talking about a total of, 16 pips, right? You can see that this one hit here on this green. Here, I'll make it a little bigger so you guys can see it. Hit here and pulled all the way back down again. We were up to 38. So we were at 2-to-1 risk-to-reward ratio. When we are 2-to-1, do we want to leave the position on? No. We want to make sure that we are protecting so we can't lose money. And what happened? It came down, it went over, came back up, and then just continued to base low on that level. So worst case, you got a few pips out of this one. You definitely would have lost money. But again, you were up 2-to-1. Again, you were risking your 1-to-1. Basically, you were trying to get 1-to-1 and risking your 2-to-1. You got to make sure you protect it. Is all you can say on this one. Nothing else you can really do. And again, this one moved. We're at 70 pips right now for the day. All right. And where we are, it's kind of one of those things. We are bouncing off, a daily supply zone. On the 4-hour, it's a pullback. We got to see what this green is able to do. See if we're able to turn and flip back to the downside. We'll see what we can get out of it. All right. So we'll remove these two. That would have been a scratch trade or, potentially a small profit on there. Definitely not a loss. We'll see where we're going. Now, again, if this does start putting in if this is the high and we start painting red, we can retrace all the way back down about 93 pips back to that lower demand zone. Okay, I don't think that's a horrible trade back to the downside. And I'm actually, with the way that the yen worked today, I'm actually expecting somewhat of a retracement as well for all the yen pairs. And that would give us that strength back to the downside. So that's where I'm looking there. Pound Aussie, again, we know what's happening over here. You guys can see on the daily, this one is not straight up or straight down. This one is giving us a little bit more sideways. Again, bad news here, but then bad news for the pound back and forth. So again, it's on the upper side, so obviously it's definitely some weakness, but a little bit more level than what we've seen in some of the other pairs. Really nothing on the 4 hour, nothing that screams, right? Looking at it on the 1 hour, kind of the same thing. I mean, there's a little zone there. You guys can see that it marked off a wick over wick. It came up and touched the wick over wick, and then has since kind of pushed down, but it didn't actually get as far as a zone. So, it's all right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this one has 159 pip ATR, so it's definitely a pair that will move if you don't know what you're doing. And the level of risk in it, I don't know. It's not bad. I mean, like this top zone, had you taken this top zone, was about 29 pips. So a little bit larger than we like to take on these lower time frames, but the pair moves. I mean, what are you going to do? The pair moves. Okay. That would be pound Aussie. Let's go over here and go pound dollar. All right. So pound dollar, you can see we have pushed back down again, and we're down 85 for the day. It's sitting right inside of a daily demand zone. So immediately you got to think, hey, listen, are we going to be turning and flipping? What type of buys do we have here? Now, on the 4 hour, you can see it didn't really pull too much. The way that this base down here, not really the best, cleanest level. There was an area a little bit lower that is not as bad, right? Down here was a much better level. This is nothing really. There's really nothing, no zones here. It's a bit wicky, and again, as I said before, you can see it on the daily, but as soon as you drop to the 4 hour, our refinement zones, not as clean, right? Looking at down at the 1 hour, it's showing us we have a zone on top of a zone. So it's kind of one of those, like, is it going to continue? I would probably assume, I don't know, if I had to make a call based off of what I see off this chart, it does look like there's a bunch of levels stacked right below us. Again, we can see it on the 1 hour, we can see it on the daily, we can't see it on the 4 hour. With that retail sales number at 430, I would have to say that there's probably something going on here. And again, it's already exposed to be pretty, or it's forecast to be much better than it was previously. That would bring some pound strength back into the market. And even maybe if it's at a 0.6, like I said, I think people are really down on the pound. This number comes in even at expected. That would give the pound strength, again, because it's much better than previous, to pop us back up again. So yeah, there are some potential longs here. If price stays down in these ranges here, before the retail sales number, right here, this is not a bad little trade setup for Nadex. This could definitely be Nadex. Oh, speaking of Nadex, they emailed me today and they're like, hey, can you do webinars next week? I'm like, I don't know if that's enough time to be able to promote anything, but maybe. So the first webinar back in the series, guys, will be a parabolic retracement webinar. I don't know if you guys have, most of you have seen it. A bunch of you guys own it already. But if you haven't seen it, they want me to do that one first because, obviously everything I do with Nadex has to be approved by compliance. And that one was approved last fall, and I guess they got so many comments from it and so much feedback from it that they're like, they want to run it again. So it would be kind of an updated version with kind of some current event type stuff included in it. But yeah, so that would be kind of interesting to look at. All right, so that is the pound dollar. Okay, looking at pound CAD, you guys can see pound CAD, at least on the 1 hour, we're getting ready to go right into a demand zone. So it kind of matches what we saw for the pound dollar, pushing down, going into levels of buying. And again, on the daily, big push down, not quite there yet. 4 hour, not quite there yet, but there is basing sideways, right? So we're pushing, not quite there. Close though, right? Very, very close. And some people would actually take this zone, the more, the risky one. And again, another pair sitting in levels of demand, typically kind of a good sign, right? Typically a good sign. So keep that on your radar. Looking at pound Singapore, you guys can see so close, so close. We were right there, right? We were pushed up and it kind of pushed away and it tried again. It just didn't make it. But again, definitely more bearish minded on this one. You guys can see the pop on this one. Again, real close. Didn't get there. Got front run on this position. Same thing on the daily. You guys can see it. The Euro one was the grab. This one just didn't quite have enough legs on it. Pound Swiss. Here's our 4 hour. You guys can see, again, we started this last night. We saw this entry. Again, on the daily, kind of sitting in the middle. Didn't go quite as high, but the 4 hour, a bit more aggressive. You guys can see where we're at. Here's the current candle right now at 21, and 21 is where we were right here. Okay. What did we do? We came all the way back up. We grabbed the zone, and we shot right back down again. Actually, was that the right one? No, here it's right here. Wait, where was it? Right there. So again, we were already in the position. Again, you could have continued that one. So I think this one will continue to fall. It is getting some demand here and a little bit demand lower. Um, you guys can see a little bit cleaner here. Okay, this would be the downside target for anything. If you are short this pair, make sure you were out before 126.60. Just because again, we saw buyers step in and had this huge pop off, and is now pushing right back to the downside. All right, so that's what we got. Again, CAD or pound Swiss is kind of a little funky one anyway. Pound New Zealand, yeah, nothing really. I mean, it's grinding higher, but you know, here's what we got. Kind of came back up, went right back down, and kind of came sideways. So this one is more kind of in a sideways, but some of these zones, like not really a big fan of that zone. Didn't even make it back down to the bottom. Not really a fan of the pound New Zealand right now. All right, switching across to New Zealand pairs. All right, so New Zealand Swiss, you guys can see again on the 1 hour. What happened? Why did this move? Well, this moved because of the Australian data. Like I said, what happens to one typically is considered happening to both of them, and did the same thing. Kind of rallied up and boom, kind of on the 1 hour, it's sitting inside of a level. Okay, on the daily, same thing. Sitting inside of a level, right? Inside of an area of buyers. On the 4 hour, it's sitting inside of areas of buyers. On the 1 hour, sitting in areas of buyers, right? 30-minute, again, we're sitting there right on top of areas of buyers. So across the board, because of the Australian news, again, they're expecting the same thing will happen to New Zealand. It all did the same thing. It all drove down into levels of demand. And that's where we're kind of at now. So you're going to have to be thinking, hey, listen, I'm probably bullish on the New Zealand Swiss if we're looking to trade this one tomorrow. And again, it's close on a couple things. We got to wait for it to go just a little bit farther. Keep track of that. As you can see, the New Zealand CAD, it's getting close. It's not quite there. It's close. We are about 36 pips away. This one has about a 53 pip ATR, so it does have about, I'd say, one more day. It's probably a trigger for sometime tomorrow, but not quite there yet. But we're, again, driving down, getting into areas of buyers. And again, when you're looking, talking price action, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for, zones, price dropping into those larger time frame zones. Check out this guy. Look at this. So this one rallied up. Now, this one did come up, and it's the 30-minute. I'll do it on the daily. Okay, on the daily, you can see it pushed down. On the 4 hour, you can see it did pop, but it wasn't super, super clean. And again, we're not quite to where that zone is. On the 1 hour, you guys can see how close it actually got. And again, there's a level of basing. It dropped, it went sideways, and dropped again, and it got super, super close. Even though it wasn't the right news event, it did come up, and it is now kind of tanked sideways. So not there. Again, I like the Aussie pair much better than New Zealand. This one doesn't move as much. You can see the daily on this one is only 44 pips. So there's not as much there, but again, we do have a demand zone that we're approaching down here. And again, this demand zone, because it is a daily, I would definitely watch out for it. And it's 63 pips or 62 pips away. It's 1.5 ATR away. So that's probably going to be a Sunday-ish trade. If we have, again, dollar strength tomorrow and it continues to push to the downside. Okay. This guy you can see on the daily just back and forth. You guys can see we got super, super close on the 4 hour. We ended up spiking very, very close. And again, it's marking the top piece off. You could have actually marked this red and this green sideways down and grabbed it here. It was right there, but we just missed it. Again, you can see it would have been right here. So this one kind of got front run. And again, that's just, it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen. This is price by proxy, for lack of a better word. All right, price by proxy to the downside. And again, right now we're kind of in a middle range, so I wouldn't be looking to trade this. If it was lower, I'd be looking for longs, but we're not quite there. So New Zealand pound needs to come lower. New Zealand Swiss, again, pushing down in the areas of demand. On the daily, we're in demand. 4 hour demand and hourly demand. Okay, so I think that's one we covered from. Basically, these are the same. Okay. This one does not have. I was like, why is there no watermark in that one? Not all these have the watermarks on them. I was like, something's missing. Why are they not there? All right, so go down and look at the dollar pair. So, look at this, man. I had to leave this one up here first. I was like, my God, look at this thing. So just to get context, this is where we are right now. And when we go back, here is where we were last night. All the way here. Okay. This thing rallied 182 pips
it has a daily ATR of 50. So we moved 3 ATRs to the top side. And again, zone up top, we ran into the gap area. We're getting close to, again, daily supply. It's right there, right? It's right there. But how about that for a day? Besides this one candle here, I think that's probably maybe this one right here. It's one of the top three biggest moves as far as candles go. Now looking at a 4 hour, kind of the same thing. You don't really see too much above. We are obviously in an uptrend. It says uptrend setup because we are pulling back, but again, we're looking for some orders on lower time frames. Okay, in any nothing. I don't really see anything here. Like I said, I think it's grabbing for orders. I think it's starting to do its retracement, and as I mentioned earlier, I expect the euro yen, the pound yen, and the dollar yen all to start retracing a bit based off of this movement. This is just so much in one day. I mean, let's look back. I mean, let me take this off. I mean, not a lot here. I mean, here we got some good movement, but this is what we normally have. I mean, it can move, but I mean, this is like straight up. This is not even that straight. That's pretty good, but it's not this. Okay. So again, you guys can see, I mean, it's typically more back and forth, and then it will trend up and down. And again, here was obviously a new spike, and it whipsawed all the way back down again. So yeah, there's definitely something in here. Definitely more interested in taking this more to the short side. As you can see on the daily, again, very, very close to demand. On the 4 hour, kind of the same thing. You guys can see it's actually above there. That's where we have those daily zones up at 114. So, we're about 300 pips from that daily, but again, nice movement. Look for a retrace. If we continue to push higher tomorrow, I would love that. Actually, if we can get this thing to drive higher tomorrow, I'm all over this one going into the weekend. I think Sunday will be an awesome time to be able to take a small level in this one to retrace this. Man, if it goes up tomorrow, look for Sunday night gaps on this one. All right, loving the dollar yen going into the weekend. And again, it's only Wednesday night. We got 2 more days, but it's it's a good place. So, dollar Swiss. Okay, on the daily, this one had a bit of a bump, right? This one moved about 2 pips, so it's very, very tiny. Didn't move. We were looking for this to come up to that 99.10 area to 99.26 for a short. You can see on the 4 hour, again, it's not there. We needed it to come up to this zone, and it really didn't do much. It just based sideways, so not really anything we can trade on dollar Swiss. There's just not enough geopolitical news right now for that one to be moving. You can see dollar CAD, right? Dollar CAD is continuing its push to the downside, although we did get a bit of a red in here, giving us, more or less, kind of like a, basically like a downtrend setup in that one. On the 4 hour, you can see as well, again, we are considered a downtrend setup on the 4 hour and the daily, looking for zones, dropping to a lower time frame. You can see there's not really a lot of clean stuff, right? This wick right here, the spike up and the spike down, kind of ruins the analysis until we get above or below that. And again, we push below it, so we're clean again here, but the top side's still dirty. Okay, still dirty, can't go any higher. And again, even above it, there's not really the best zone, right? Not really the best zone. Let's get it its new data. There we go. Okay, so here's that spike up, that spike down, really up until what is this? 132.69, right? About 30 pips from where we are. It's the first time I really like any of these zones, right? Something along those lines. All right. If we can get a pop, and again, we could potentially get a pop tomorrow morning. And again, dollar CAD will also be affected by crude oil, but again, let's play the crude oil numbers by itself if we can. Again, use Nadex, use futures if you need to. If you only trade currencies, I think most of you guys at this point are doing dual stuff. But if you have to, then again, you can use this proxy, or you can use CAD yen as another oil proxy. But right now, with where things are with demand and everything, gold, oil, everything else is kind of linked right now. And again, had bigger days today. All right. The dollar CAD, not too much, and dollar Singapore. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. There's today's spike all the way up. Look at that thing. My God, yesterday we were in it saying, yeah, it's probably going to break. We've touched it many times. We've hit here, we hit again, and it's going to break. It broke. It broke, and it got so close. Actually, you can't see it here. I'll put the risk to reward how close we actually got on the 4 hour. There you go. You guys see it right there? Bigger. And there, you guys can see how close we got to it. Got close and got front run, and from its peak it is down 70 pips. So super, super close. Just couldn't get there, right? Like I said, the euro one was the best one. I think that was the cleanest, and we were very, very high in the curve. This one, not as high.
right? This one not as high, right? Kind of going back. I guess it's as high as now, but we were kind of over here at the peak, right? But you can see that a lot more above it. The year one is not as crazy as this one. All right. So I think this one misses. Let's see if we can kind of come down and start creating red candles. And again, I think we'll start getting a pop to the downside on this one as well. I'm definitely a bit more bearish at this point now that we came this high. But we can remove the old zone. The old zone is definitely eaten. Like I said, we had hit here, we'd hit here, we'd hit here, hit here, and then it finally burst. So it was time. It was time to go higher. All right, so that is your U.S. pairs. Now let's go over and look at the randoms, right? As I call them. All right, so here is crude. Look at this big green candle on crude. Hate it, hate it, hate it. I want a big red candle to the downside, but no, we got this big one over here. Looking at the 4 hour, you guys can see what this one did. Okay, obviously it didn't all happen in one time frame, but again, it continued to rally off that zone. We were looking to get into that one short. Again, we talked about this short. Actually, this was on the lower time frame that we're looking to get in this one. But oh, actually, you know what? No, I'm sorry. This was the Harry Potter trade. Yeah, it came down again, disqualified itself by really not getting any space and just collapsing, and then pushing back up again. So we'll delete this so it's easier to see. Actually, this one I think it did trigger on the 30-minute. Yeah, it did. This is the one that came down, touched, and went all the way down again. So we'll delete it just to make sure it's easy and clean. Nothing in here. You guys will notice this one. So let me remove this. Okay. We have some areas that we could potentially get in. So on the hourly, you guys can see nothing. We have no red until up here, right? Looking at the 4 hour, we kind of touched and we pulled back again. Now, this is the zone that was drawn off the gap over here. And remember, I said that we could, block off this entire gap or take this smaller zone. The top is basically the same. It's a little bit higher in the green candle. That's where we're sitting. So the way that it's lined up, it is more lined up for a short than a long. Excuse me. It is more lined up for a short than a long. Again, we just came off of that zone. Let me drop these on so we can kind of get a better view on this on the lower time frame. On the hourly, you can see that this is kind of what we did. We barely touched it, and now we're kind of pushing to the downside. Let me change this color. I know white is good sometimes, but trying to get something that's a little easier to see. Let's see. Trying to get a color that is not super obnoxious. I think yellow was probably the easiest. There we go. We'll just use that one. So that's where the... Oh, wait. Why did it change color? Why did it do that? Hello? Oh, it's going to get in that weird loop. Whatever. Yellow. We'll leave it there. All right, so not horrible to the downside, right? The 1 to 3, the 1 to 5. It's pushing back, and we'll see if it can get back up. I would like it. I would actually like for it to push back up in that zone. I'd like to get into the oil news tomorrow in that area. Dropping down and looking at this here. And you can see it. The indicator is actually marking off a high on this one. Smaller time frame. Again, up at 54.01. Okay, right at that 54.01 area. I'd like to be there before news comes out. I would like to get short this beforehand. If we can, again, if it's pushed all the way down, then not so much. I don't want as much overnight movement. I'd like this to go a bit higher. So that's what I got going for oil. And again, you guys can see pushing up into that level again on the 4 hour. You can see that we bounced off that zone, and the lower time frames as well. You can see that we're starting to finally create some supply above. All right, so oil, I am a little bit more bearish minded. Actually, you know what? Before we do this one, let's silver. So here's silver on the daily. Okay, we still came off of that demand zone. We've continued to push away from it. Today, again, a little bit pullback now, but it continued to push away. On the 4 hour, right? You guys can see this is what we're looking on the 4 hour. We do have a demand zone that is not bad. I mean, it based and then kind of, it did what its thing, went higher. Looking at this one, you can see that we don't really have a lot of data because of this big spike here. But I will say it is putting some nice levels. It is getting rid of all this stuff and giving us some, some space to run here. We do have a zone up top, but again, looking at this on the kind of 4 hour curve, we're starting to get closer to the high again, right? So
you got to start thinking, hey, listen, are there shorts in there because we are starting to push on the higher side? Looking at this one on the hourly, a little bit different of a picture. You can see that we did put in a high and then kind of a failure to go higher pop, right? Now, we did spike down again and we did not touch the demand zone. So we know there are definitely some buyers sitting down here, probably in this single wick over here, that have caused price to not only come down, but then they drove price right back up again. So the question is that high touch? Is that it? Okay, is this the impulse move? Is this the bit of correction, the failure to go higher? And then will this push back down again? And if so, will it break this? And the answer is probably. I don't think we have too much until we get kind of back over in this area here. And again, this looks weird because this is a gap. It went from here and popped straight down. So a little bit funky there, right? Looking at it on the 30-minute, kind of the same thing. You guys can see we had that kind of failure up there. And again, this one, volume gets a little bit funky. You have a little bit of a gap over here and it's pushed up. So question is this attempt up? Is this it? Right? Is this all the pop that it's going to have? And I think hourly is probably the best look at that right now. Okay. Hourly is the best one. All right. All right. So that's that. Let's go over to the other metal, right? The other metal. And look at this thing. Pushed above, right? We pushed above this high just barely over here. We got up to what? 1612.79. So again, pushed above it, and now it's pulling back to grab a couple more orders. Looking at it on the 4-hour, again, boom. We're definitely, again, impulse, correction. Impulse did go higher. Corrective move is, again, higher than the previous pullback. It looks like it's going to continue to push. So again, when you're using, price action, supply and demand, there's no supply above it. So this is one of those things that we're waiting for this one to kind of flip and turn on us to give us an area to take some shorts. But right now we don't have anything. There's no way to step in. There's no way to, call the top just because, I'm not going to, you guys know, there are ways to, that some people believe that they can use in extensions or whatever. Like I said, I'm a guy that I want to be able to see that it's already happened. I want to know that there's buyers there. I want to be able to see those buyers in the chart. I don't want to think or hope that something does something in an area. And again, when we have this type of high, this situation, what are we supposed to do? There's nothing at this point, right? If you can get it on a nice pullback, you're good to go. But we just didn't have necessarily the pullbacks today. This one didn't get close. Only made it about this far. Didn't get the entry here. Drop it down to a 30-minute, kind of same situation, right? Large pop, this is about the only one you could have had. This, maybe. It's not, again, this one slightly lower. If you've been using this zone, you may have run into a little bit of trouble. And in here, just, too much chop back and forth. There's not really a lot. This is probably the best entry that you had on it. This kind of pullback, base, and then again, this little higher. That's probably the cleanest level on the entire sheet. And you can see the indicator grabbed it before it went higher. So that's about the only thing. And again, that was down here at what? 1695. And again, the high was at 1611 here, and then 1613 over on this direction. All right. Looking at NASDAQ. Okay. There you go on the daily. Okay. Nothing above. Why? Because again, we pushed all the way up. We're way up there, right? Again, this is one of those ones that kind of surprised that we're continuing to push right now. This high. Okay. We did have a little bit of a cap in over here at the gap, and you can see that it came up and it actually based in there in the 4-hour before it kind of gave us another pop. Now we do have some red candles now, and we'll see. This, the way the candles form, is actually not horrible. If we were to get a little bit of a green and then a red push down, that actually wouldn't be a bad area to start taking something on lower time frames, particularly during the trading day. Now, you hate to see that this flip has actually occurred and, basically at 9 o'clock at night. You prefer that flip to be during regular standard market hours, but things are kind of pulling back and they're resetting and people are adjusting and, again, computers are fighting each other right now. So, again, not necessarily surprised. And again, this is after hours. It's like after hours, right? It's late night. It's only computers battling in this market currently right now. And again, you're seeing it here as well, right? Sideways base, push, wick over wick, drop, a little bit of a pullback, and it looks like it wants to continue to the downside. If I had to say anything, it wouldn't surprise me if tomorrow morning we're down here at the 96.62 range, right? Back down somewhere in here, right? Kind of where this gap was. We had this big push up. See if it pulls back into that area of the last time we had some basing for the market day. So that's NASDAQ. Let's look at the Dow. Dow on the daily. Again, we have a red, we have a green, we have a red, we have a lower green, and then a little tiny bit of a gap. And again, we're painting red again. This one is not quite as clean, right? We had a little bit of a pop up. We mentioned this yesterday, right?
we talked about, hey, listen, there's a gap here, and then there's this top piece, right, where we had the cap on, and it's bumped it here and bumped it here again, and it got front run here. This one actually got front run by the gap. So the Dow's a little bit different. The Dow, I would actually say we do have areas that we could potentially look at this and say, hey, I do believe there could potentially be a short in this one. Why? Because, again, we put a cap in. It's gone up there. It's shown us that sellers are going to step in when price gets above that level, right? Starting over here at 92,512 to what? 29,591. Okay. Now it has hit once, twice. This one didn't hit. So it has hit a few times, but this is definitely lagging versus what the NASDAQ is doing. So you got to respect that. Again, if anything, there may be some shorts over in this area to take this back down. And again, probably to this green line, right? We all of a sudden have a negative day. Don't be surprised that this one pops over here, right? If there's some negativity in this market. And again, there's a million different ways that it could happen, right? A million different ways we get some negativity. Like you said, when you see a couple days up going into the weekend, again, like I said, they like to end the week on Friday on a positive day. Well, tomorrow's not Friday. Right? Tomorrow's not Friday. Nothing better than a bad Thursday, and then you end on a high point on Friday, right? All right, S&P. S&P, a little bit different, right? Here's the S&P. What are we doing? Drive, 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 drive. Dow, stuck. NASDAQ, drive. So, NASDAQ, S&P, Dow. So, Dow's the one showing the weakness. Dow's popped up. Dow's filled the gap. We get a day that it's bad for U.S. markets, or Dow will be the first one to fall and continue to push to the downside. Okay, so some nice stuff going on there. All right. So, guys, that is the indices as well as silver, gold, and oil. That's kind of it for those. Let's see. It is 10:16. I will give you guys, let's see this. Pop over here. Let's do some tickets. Right now we have 10 people, 10 tickets. Everybody's in for singles. If you guys are in the channel, go ahead and hit exclamation point ticket. Purchase your ticket for some pip chips. Pip chips can be used for indicators right now. They can be used for one-on-one mentoring time. We can talk about absolutely anything you want. You don't need to be a student to be able to use that mentoring time. As well as tomorrow night. Remember, tomorrow night it will be the drawing for a month of weekly reports. Okay. And when I said one, I meant basically 1 month. But it's 1 month. There'll be 4 reports included with that one. So make sure you guys attend tomorrow night. And like I said, it'll be, everybody will get a free entry. You can use more pip chips to buy additional entries if you guys want. But everybody definitely gets one free entry, and you guys can go from there. So that'll be tomorrow night. All right. And you guys, like I said, a bunch of you asked questions today about that one. That is sitting on, let's see, where is it? Where is it? Not that one. Let's see. Where's my dashboard? Go to my dashboard. Oh, this is the wrong one. Nope, not trading. Wrong one. Let's see. Oh, I can't go to that one anymore. Where is it? It's there we go. It's right here. You guys will see this one on the course page. Okay. I actually started to add some more content to it. I got held up today though. But when you guys go into this one, well, you guys can't see it from in here. It would have to be done externally. Yep, you have to see it from outside. But basically, you'd be able to see it in here. But basically, I've started to add kind of pictures of what it is to give it a little bit better of an explanation for those of you that don't know. All right. And actually, tomorrow, I don't have the link. Actually, what I'll do is I'll create a link below for you guys to be able to find the school. That makes the most sense for new people that are in there. I'll have to do that tomorrow to be able to add that in. Right now, we have YouTube schedule, Discord, disclaimer. We'll have to put the website up there. All right. We'll get into it that way. All right, guys. So with that being said, let's see. Let's go ahead. I'm going to give you guys another 15 seconds. Actually, it's not going to matter, I guess, with the delay for many of you guys. We now have 11 people in, 13 tickets purchased. We will go ahead and close this one down. Right. Bam. Right on the 119. And we will draw the winner. The winner is Mike the Spike. Mike, good to see you. Mike doesn't always make chart school, so I'm glad that Mike doing some winning here. Hopefully we get to see this guy a bit more often. So Mike the Spike, look at that right there. He's even got his picture on here. Let's go to the leaderboard and see if we can find Mike. Where's Mike? Look at this. Mike shows up and all of a sudden starts winning. Man, Mike, where are you? You can't be this slow, Mike. Where's Mike? Let me go back to the beginning. You know what? Let's just do it this way. It's gonna make me type Mike the Spike. Nope, not on that page. Huh? Where the heck are you, Mike? I don't know. It's gonna be crazy now. It's fixed. Why is it fixed? Oh wait. Oh, he has it spelled differently. Let me see. Is it this? No. Mike, how the heck did you spell your name? Did you make this weird? There we go. Position 20. All right. Mike's being weird. There he is, right there. Guy has to spell it weird so we can't find it. All right, there we go. Mike's moving up in the rankings. All right, so we are good with there, guys. All right, so with that being said, guys, I'm going to bounce. Don't forget, oil first thing in the morning. Let me actually switch over to that chart. Okay, like I said, don't forget we have oil tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning. Like I said, inventory on that one is currently, oops, not that one, this one. Again, you can see that the forecast has definitely been off. That was lining up. We were looking at shorts on that one. So again, I'm okay with that. And we'll see. Okay. Also, Philly Fed manufacturing tomorrow. Philly Fed is important. If we can get some bad numbers with Philly Fed, that could lead because then people are going to look at that and be like, manufacturing index is down. That's negative for the market. And then bam, we start shorting that one. And Dow would be the one to take advantage of there. All right. So, with that being said, guys, it is 10:20. You guys have a great night, and I will catch you guys tomorrow.